Real estate experiment log week number 9. Wow, that is crazy. How fast does time go? It would have been perfect if this was week number 8 because we went over the 8 crucial steps. So we're going to do a quick recap of what's going on this week. We're actually going to start applying the knowledge, right? So again, I'm a big fan of not doing the analysis paralysis, but there is a time to learn how to do it properly. That way it'll save you time in the long run. So I'm trying to do a little bit of both without overwhelming myself with needing to get more information, because it'll be an iterative learning process as we go along. So week number 1, we talked about the seller lead sheet, agent lead sheet, and MLS listing sheet. That's more or less how you get leads, getting the information, square footage of a property, where it's located, etc. You can also use the tax assessor's property card or the MLS or Zillow just to get high-level information. And when you're speaking with either a realtor or a homeowner who's a seller, you can verify the information, make sure it adds up and it's legit. And then if you want to do a little bit more of a deep dive, then you can access the tax assessor's property card, which actually should have legally exactly all the true requirements of a property. So then we talked about looking at the comparables within that neighborhood, within a 0.5 mile radius, because that will help us determine our after repair value for any distressed property that we're looking at. So again, to bring things back into focus, we're talking about buying distressed properties, buying them and flipping them, or if we can't flip them, we wholesale them. And so as an investor who is looking to arbitrage, buy low, sell high, so we're always looking at comps, comparables, short form for comparables. That dictates how much you should really be expecting to make from the initial investment, and how much you can actually negotiate to buy the distressed property for, so that you give yourself a margin of profit where you can eat from that as well if you're going to wholesale it, and your investor will also see it as a worthy property to invest in for his ROI. So then we talked about off-market comparable sales. So that's for sale by owner. Very similar. So really what the ML, okay, so I'm looking at my list here because I have about 8 lists, 8 steps. So MLS comparable sales, and then the off-market comparable. So just if you're using the MLS, that's going to be any property information or comps are going to be included from the ones that were on market. It won't include the ones that are off the market. So that's really important, because if someone put their home on sale through Craigslist or via who knows what platform that's not on the MLS, it's not necessarily going to show that information, because the MLS is not a tax assessor. It's not a tax assessor, like I guess database. But I think Zillow is. So you have to use all your tools. With that being said, we talked about the comp evaluator. So we talked about when you do pick comps, you want to narrow it down to 3 or 4 properties, which one will be the best property for you. So I'm sorry, no, it's not really for you, it's based on the subject property. So let's say your subject property has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and is located in town X. You want to make sure that those comparables, of course, in order for them to even make the cut, are in a 0.5 mile radius, because if it's anything outside that, you never know, it might actually be in another neighborhood. It's not a true comparable. That's very important when assessing properties. At the same time, then you want to narrow it down and look at those maybe 3 or 4 properties that you can compare to your subject property, so you can have an idea of really narrowing it down. Maybe one comparable has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and then has a pool. Does your subject property have a pool? That may be a plus or a minus depending on where you live. If it's in a state like California, that may be a plus. So that may not be their truest comparable. So you gotta go through an elimination process. It is still a comparable, but you want to pick the comparable that's as close to your property as possible. So again, comps, we talk about the square footage being very similar. We talk about the number of rooms, the town, the district for sure, the school district for sure. And then we go from there. And as we know, if the comps at the time aren't, you can't find similar comps, then you start moving some of the maybe it's most ideally you're not really moving out of the 0.5 square mile square radius but your square foot radius, but you're ideally maybe tweaking maybe the amount of rooms, maybe the square footage a little bit greater. Usually, I know for square footage, it's anywhere from 20% over to 20% below. So maybe you play around with those and kind of see, if you can't find comparables. But for the most part, you're going to narrow down your comparables right to match your property of your subject property as close as possible. And then from there, you're going to pick that one property that you feel is the true winner. Although there could be more than one winner, just pick one, and then from there, use that as a model for your repair estimations, right? So you use that, throughout the entire comps, all your comps as well. But if you're gonna pick that one property that you feel is the closest, use that that comparable property that's already previously sold and to see what that current value is today. Use that one to make your choices on how much you should be investing on remodeling kitchen, remodeling, what type of material you should be using, dual pane windows, the roof, etc. You're gonna use your neighborhood to kind of dictate anyway, but it helps to have a comparable that you can look at as well, as far as so that you're not putting in too much into a property. Sometimes what people will do is actually put in too much money, where maybe the kitchen should have been a low end kitchen, and they make it a high end kitchen. But based on what the comps are selling for, that's actually not really going to boost the value of the property that much. So you really got to be very cautious of that, and really pay attention to the numbers based on your comps. So that, again, the repair estimator, we go in there, we do a high level repair estimation. It's not really a scope of work. It'll just give you an idea of, okay, should I change the roof? Do I need to add dual pane windows? Again, you can use Excel documents to put in your changes, and if you do have the luxury to have a system in place and be able to put it in Excel where it calculates it for you, that's also great. Where you have a multiplier for each cost, you put the square footage of the home and multiplies it for you. There's a lot of investment tools out there for that. It's currently what I'm using. And you get your estimations, right? So painting, we usually always put new appliances in the kitchen to make it new cabinets, usually, if we don't really need to refurbish them. What else do we do? Flooring is key. Flooring is a big one. Flooring is really important. And the master bathroom is also a key, unique, a unique selling point. From an investor's perspective, or from a buyer's perspective at the retail value, they'll look to have a property that, wow, like, I remember that bathroom is gorgeous, or the kitchen is gorgeous. So the kitchen is one of the main points. The floors is definitely a key one as well. And paint, you gotta paint. Paint is very minimal cost. Paint the interior, exterior, just really changes the whole thing. And then of course the landscape, we talk about that. Just cleaning up the landscape, making it look nice. That's what we talk about the repair estimator. So you put all those in your numbers, and you're able to see how much the estimation will cost you in order for you to actually get to an after repair value, your ARV, compared to the comps. And again, making obviously your property stand out, but at the same time being conscious of the budget and how much went into it. So that's where we come today. And then now we looked at the deal analyzer, for flips. So that's more or less of a tool that we use to put all the numbers in, your repair estimator, your comps, etc., to see how much ROI you're gonna get. So that's another template that we use. But really, what we're at right now, it's week 9. We're about to get week 10. Personally, packed the bags. We moved. We're ready to go and tackle this thing in Atlanta. But more importantly, we are now using. We have access to the MLS. We're able to see deals, and at the same time also off-market deals, such as Craigslist. And right now we're doing our due diligence where we're looking at deals, and we are we're searching for deals. We're trying to look at properties and seeing what is a deal based on the numbers. And I think that's a place where it can get a little bit, this is the exciting spot, but this is where it can get a little bit, maybe, you're not too sure as a new investor, because it could be a deal or it could not be a deal. And but luckily we do have a network, or find a mentor, find a network where you can submit deals to see actually if they're worth it, and go from there. So I think that's going to be very helpful and I think now the test is going to be the next exercise is going to be interesting to see if you're able to find better deals off market or on the market. We do have access to MLS or on Craigslist. I know on Craigslist there might not be as many quality leads, but there are still leads out there that are off market leads for FSBOs, for sale by owner. So it'd be interesting to test out both, and that's exactly what we're going to do in week 10. So with the move being ahead, it's going to be a pretty big week, but we're hitting the ground running. We're going to Atlanta, and we're doing the damn thing, man. We're doing this thing. Week 10 has been a solid journey of learning. Now this is going to be more of continuous learning, continuous education, but more action taken. So let's get to these deals and let's build. Let's get it.